Hey everybody, and welcome to Mixlife. I don't know, 64 or something. I don't remember. I even wrote it down and then I forgot again. Pretty cool. I'm here with Rick. We're gonna talk about some flowers and shit. So I hope you guys are ready. It's gonna be pretty exciting. Yeah.
I'm definitely excited. Let's bring on the floral nonsense here.
I have to reload this thing real quick.
And
Every time it lags on me and then it stops working.
And I actually need to get on YouTube right now.
Yeah. I always have to refresh the whole page because the chat and the video lock up as soon as we start streaming and I can't see how many people are watching, or if I can't see chat or I can't see anything. I don't know. Soon we'll be switching from Hangouts to OBS and we'll have some fancy doodads and things. It'll be weird. Right, so I even wrote a list and stuff, guys. I'm prepared and shit. So yeah. Let me move this stuff around here a little bit more. There we go. All right, so we're gonna start just go by brand and kind of go over each flavor a little bit, and then talk about we'll talk about how to use them more effectively, kind of at the end, right? Instead of trying to do it all at once, because then we'll only cover 5 flavors. So right off the bat, we're gonna start with TPA because they're the most common and the easiest to use, generally speaking. Well, they have the 2 most common and easiest to use floral flavors. It's TPA honeysuckle, which is kind of lightly floral, and it's not really super potent, and it doesn't really get weird unless you push it up really, really high, and then it gets a kind of weird, sharp green note to it if you push it up over 4 or 5%.
I'm actually really happy that Dave invented TPA honeysuckle. I feel like that was a big big feather in his mixing cap. So
yeah, I mean TPA honeysuckle is it's the gateway drug to all things floral, right? And it's super useful in a million places, and it can kind of fit almost anywhere. So if your fruits are just a little need a little brightness, or your creams are a little too heavy and you need to cut them back just a tiny bit, you can use honeysuckle the same way to kind of thin them out a little, right? If you have a heavy custard but you don't want it to be super heavy.
Yeah, it has a really interesting layering effect. I haven't messed around with it all that much, but one of the things that it does tend to do, for me at least, is kind of sit on top of a mix, and you can kind of attach fruit flavors to it, so you can get some decent separation out of your mixes with it.
Yeah, you really can. So sometimes it's kind of a gamble as to which part of the recipe it's going to stick to, right? Where you're going to create the division. But generally speaking, yeah, it's super useful. There's only one commercial flavor I know of that uses it, and that's Placid from Adirondack, which is a really excellent pear, lime, honeysuckle, and strawberry. I really enjoy it, so it's super useful. Probably one of the best layering tools if you're going to use more than one floral in a recipe also.
Yeah, but I was going to say, yeah, but like you're saying, it's kind of a crapshoot too, seeing what part of the recipe is going to stick out with it. But it will definitely modify your recipe. You just actually have to test the damn thing.
Yeah, so sometimes it requires a little more. I mean, all floral recipes require a little more development time on average than a regular straightforward flavor, right? If you're just doing a bakery or a fruit mix or whatever, you can kind of gamble with it. But TPA honeysuckle really florals overall really just kind of changed the game. And then next on our list is TPA cherry blossom, and I it's almost interchangeable with TPA honeysuckle. There's the faintest hint of it's not cherry, but a red fruit type flavor. Some people misconceive it as tasting like cherry, but I don't personally taste any cherry whatsoever. But I get a similar flavor from TPA cherry blossom over honeysuckle, only that it has a dash of kind of powdery sugar finish when you push it up really high, and it's a little sharper than honeysuckle. The floral flavor itself is a little sharper, a little more definitive.
So I've tried to like TPA cherry blossom because I'm pretty sure your veins are full of TPA cherry blossom. And for me, one of the things that I do notice with cherry blossom is that it can get a little benzaldehyde-y, it has some of those same plasticky notes when you go really high. So It's a little hard for me to manage some of those, but it's a really interesting flavor.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's not as easy to work with as honeysuckle, and you can't push it as high. Like I have never been successful with a recipe over like 2.5%, where honeysuckle I can push to 4 or 5. And cherry blossom, even when I push it to 2.5%, like it has to have like some kind of heavier pairings, right? There's my creepy ass cat staring at us in the corner. You see him?
That's horror. Yeah, that's horrifying. That cat is going to eat you one day. Like it's just waiting for the time that you actually OD on cherry blossom, and it's going to eat your eyes. So
yeah. And frankly, like those two flavors, the honeysuckle and cherry blossom, kind of carry they carry like a large percentage of floral recipes because they're such great bases too. Like they're not just top notes, so you can use them to create the bottom end of your recipe or to fill out the bottom end of your recipe. Like if you have a bunch of fruits that are just kind of, not getting there or whatever. And then for honorable mention from TPA, I have rose candy and musk candy. His name is Maximilian Fortress of Solitude. That's his name.
That's not weird at all.
All cats should have like five words in their names.
So I've never actually even got their musk candy. How is their musk candy?
It's really musky. Like you tried the vape train one?
Yeah.
It's ×2 of that.
That doesn't sound like fun.
So it's not bad. It's just really potent, right? So you have to like use it like under 1%, and it's okay. Like it's not bad. If you want that kind of, and it fades more than vape trains does. So it starts out, it comes on really strong and then kind of fades off a little bit. So it's definitely like perfume counter level of floral. But like I said, it's not bad. It just needs the right pairings to make it work. Adam is not here today. He's fighting alligators.
Yeah, it's gators they have down there. He's currently on a fan boat, shooting alligators. We'll say that.
Like a harpoon gun.
Wearing a rockin' vest. He's very rugged and handsome, so that's what he does when he's not here.
It's true. It's true. He hangs out with those dudes on that show. What's that show? I don't remember.
So speaking of rose candy, I am definitely not a rose person. How does rose candy differ from like something like FA rose?
It's more like rose water, right? With like a dash of like the musk. But have you ever had like rose water or rose juice from the Middle East?
Yeah, like that stuff's actually okay. And I don't hate all roses. Like I like that kind of like tart rose hip flavor that you can get off some of them, but yeah.
Yeah, it's got a fair amount of like the musk from musk candy, so it's a little hard to work with. And I've never really been super successful with it. I haven't really fucked with it that much, to be honest. I've made a few recipes with it. I like it ish, but overall, TPA rose candy it's decent, right? But it's more like rose water or rose juice, like you would get like in a Middle Eastern market or something.
So if you really wanted to go for like a Turkish delight or something like that, like an actual rose candy flavor, yeah, I guess that'd be the one you'd go towards, right?
You'd have to start really low. I think it'd be hard to balance with using TPA rose candy, but it's doable for sure. That's definitely where I would start.
Probably. Oh, and it just shows up in the chat. I promise you, Gringo, I did not steal your idea.
What happened?
Oh, it said use it for a Turkish delight.
Oh, yeah.
So what exactly is musk, asks Kind Ground.
What it actually is musk. It's hard to describe Kind Ground, but if I were to... Kind Ground's an older guy like me, so if you remember in your grandma's bathroom, she used to have those weird gel bath bomb things, right? And they smelled like the perfume counter at Nordstrom's. That's musk, right? It's just like a really heavy perfume scent. I don't know how else to describe it, really.
So, like, how different is it from something like patchouli? Because with, like, the vape train sweet musk, like, it has, like, a definite patchouli vibe to it.
It's not that different. I mean, kind of, right? It's kind of the same idea. I don't know. Let's see if I can get a better definition because I'm a little tired.
It comes out of the glands of rodents, right? I really want to imagine that's where they're getting their musk sourcing. They just have a row of rodents in cages they're milking for their musk, but it's probably less exotic than that.
That comes from a term monkey, like from a plant called the monkey flower, but I guess it's like an old Sanskrit thing. But I mean, other than like when you consider it from an animal, right? It's just like the aroma left from really strong smelling flowers. Beaver castors make castoreum, which smells like vanilla. It doesn't smell like any of those things. So there. All right, I didn't miss anything. So next we'll switch to Capella. I don't think I forgot any TPAs. I only have 2 from Capella and only one actual flavor, like one that I actually really count as a floral, which is hibiscus, which is kind of dark and syrupy, and like it really only borders on floral. It has a good sweet hibiscus flavor, but it really reminds me more of like hibiscus, like tea. It has a vague kind of tannic quality to it. It's not very potent. The tannic isn't, anyways.
Yeah, and cap hibiscus, like it's one of those like cheater florals, like honeysuckle, where it's kind of floral, really, but more it's just this really interesting, for me at least, it's more like this really interesting like textural additive. Like I may have read it somewhere or whatever and assumed that I came up with it, but to me it reminds me a lot, like it's a very filmy flavor. Like it has like this weird like stickiness to the flavor that you don't get out of a lot of the other flavors. And so I use it generally for like a lot of mouthfeel and also to blend some other flavors.
Yeah, I have to agree with all of that. Those are all really valid points. It's not very good standalone, but it's definitely like a really crucial ingredient, I think, in layering. Similar to honeysuckle, right? Like I don't like honeysuckle as a main flavor. It's too thin. You know, it's nice, but it's just too thin, and it doesn't do much on its own. But then when you layer it, you get some pretty good progress out of it. And then sweet lychee is really the only one other on the list from Capella that I kind of count as a floral, and really just because it's a pretty floral lychee flavor. It's fairly authentic, but it's got like that same sort of syrupiness that I got from like Capella's passion fruit. It's like bordering on plasticky. But it does have like a kind of a floral finish, a more floral finish than other lychee flavors, I think. Have you ever messed with it?
I'm sorry, I was talking about cocktail bitters. What are we talking about?
Cap sweet lychee.
Oh yeah, it's less offensive than some of the other lychee flavors. I don't know. Lychee and me, like there's that perfumey kind of gasoline thing going on with a lot of them. And the cap sweet lychee is less bad than some of the other lychees for that. But I don't do a lot of lychee.
Yeah, I'm not a big lychee guy. I like Florals lychee better if I'm going to use a lychee, and it's less floral, but way more potent, kind of hard to work with. So we're on to flavor art. We'll start with lavender, right? Their lavender is pretty good. If you go too high with it, it starts to smell like dryer sheets. Some people will find that it smells like dryer sheets at 0.5% or tastes like dryer sheets, but I don't think it's so. It's really good paired with like light creams and lemons and some fruits. Yeah,
Jarvis actually had a I want to say it was like a flan or like panna cotta type recipe that used a little bit of lavender, and it's like a terrifying flavor to mix because you definitely smell like the dryer sheets right off the bat. But I was really surprised by how well she blended in that with some lighter cream notes, and then I believe there was a little bit of lemon in there to counter some of the funkier parts of it. Like it's doable. It's just kind of a pain to find the right profile that lavender is going to fit without being obnoxious.
Yeah, definitely. And then it takes a little bit more layering, a little more attention to layering. But yeah, and you kind of have to pair it where it naturally sits. You can't just go wild with it like some of the others.
Yeah, and I use that in a recipe with a lot of elderflower too, but in dealing with some of those more aggressive florals, like a little bit of tartness can go a long way and kind of knocking the edges off of those and making them less gross. I've also found that like TPA champagne, for whatever reason, tends to kind of mute florals in a really decent way. So that's kind of one of my back pocket things for dealing with like lavender and elderflower and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. I have an aversion to TPA champagne except for when you use it. Otherwise, I mean, it's all right. It's not a bad flavor. I just like I like FA champagne better, but FA champagne has like a definitive grape note to it that you cannot get away from. Which doesn't make it bad. It just makes it harder to use.
Yeah, I'm still not sure how TPA champagne actually even resembles actual champagne.
It doesn't. It doesn't resemble champagne at all. But to me, like once I take it over like 2%, like all I can taste is like thin cardboard, right? Like chemically cardboardy, like colada. Like, it reminds me kind of the same aftertaste I get from colada.
Yeah, I think I basically use it like a version of TPA's ripe strawberry, but for florals, like for knocking off sharp edges.
Yeah, that makes a lot
florals.
of sense. I could see that working better. I'll have to give it a try. Next on our list is jasmine. Jasmine's kind of a huge pain in the ass to work with. It has a really nice, like lightly green jasmine flavor, but the problem is it's kind of on the weaker side. That's the concentrate itself is plenty potent, but the flavor just doesn't compete well in a profile where it's mixed with other things. So it doesn't stand out very well. So you have to like crank it up, and then it gets kind of dry and weird, and it's not as good anymore.
So jasmine is actually one that I go through a surprising amount of. That grapefruit recipe that I have actually uses jasmine to kind of like make a citrus a little bit more perfumey and realistic. I want to say it's a very odd flavor, and it's weird. The last time I checked on buying more of it, the price seems to spike quite a bit on it. I think the last time I had to buy it was like Bull City. It was like $8 for a 30 milliliter. So yeah, the sourcing on that one's weird.
It's a supply issue. I've talked to them about it in the past because jasmine's like their one flavor that the price is really wildly on it, and all the time. And it's because there's like a global jasmine supply issue, and it can be really expensive sometimes to source enough jasmine to do a production run of the right jasmine, because it's a particular type of jasmine that they use.
Yeah, it goes really well with like green tea flavors in general, like the FE green tea that everybody picked up. That already has some jasmine in there, and some extra jasmine really isn't bad in there.
Yeah, definitely. And the nice thing about jasmine is it can work really well with flavors that are also like too green, right? Vegetal or whatever, like lovage, or if you take your rhubarb, you want to push your innerwear rhubarb too high, because its own like weird kind of greeniness. Like I don't know what it does, but it kind of just makes it more agreeable. So sometimes you can kind of, or when you like push TPA green tea and it gets grassy.
You can dump some extra jasmine in there, and it kind of brings it back around from being straight grassy to like the right kind of floral for a tea.
Exactly that. Yeah. And then on to my favorite flavor art, floral violet, which is actually like bordering on candy. Like their violet is really sweet, ultra sweet. It's like the sweetest floral on the market, I'm sure.
Shout out to Mango Beauregard, man.
Oh,
I still don't like you explained why that recipe works, but it still just boggles my mind that works as well as it does, turning a mango essentially purple.
Yeah. So it works because they share volatiles together, right? So violet and mangoes share aroma volatiles together, and they I'm trying to find the recipe here so I can look at it while I talk about it. So when you get the right balance of them, it probably took me like 30 tries just to get the mango and violet to where I wanted them to be. So that basically like you're not literally creating a new flavor, right? But they bond differently at that level, and they here's the recipe if anybody's interested. I wanted to release this one as a one shot actually, but I was like 6 months away and I was just too excited. It's really good. Oh, that is one I forgot to put on the list. We'll go over that one real quick. But yeah, it's just really cool, and you can do it. It kind of works with any tropical flavor, surprisingly. So you can get a good result from. It's one of the few florals that work really well with tropical flavors, right? Like with pineapples or bananas or any kinds of other things. Like it actually works, and part of that is attributable to like it's really just candy level of fucking sweetness, just really ultra sweet. And part of it's just because it's just more compatible with more things. I think overall. You were going to say something, Rick. I'm sorry. I was like steamrolling.
No, it's okay. Grimes is talking about Hypnotic Mist in the chat. But also Gringo says shout out to your Violet one shot. So
thanks, Gringo. I'm glad you like it, man. That was a really fun recipe to use, and I used a super secret floral that I can't talk about. Just because I don't want to give away all my secrets.
But it's cloak and dagger, right?
It was not Flavor Art Violet in that recipe. So
you detectives out there can narrow it down.
So you detectives can narrow it down. There's some ninja shit in there though. Hypnotic Mist is really cool. I can't believe I forgot to put that on the list. So thank you for that, Grimes. Yeah, it's definitely there's a definite like orange citrus in there. And I think I agree with your note you made in chat that it's like a less stupid version of bergamot.
Yeah, so I was actually super interested when I like went over Hypnotic Mist because it's like sort of based on that hypnotic drink or whatever. But I think the reason that the hypnotic drink is called hypnotic is because it uses like a Seville or bitter orange, and the neroli, like part of that used to be said to have like hallucinogenic properties or whatever. I think that's where they got the nomenclature for that.
Yeah, that would make sense.
It was some serious Google detective work right there and a whole bunch of suppositions.
And the other cool thing about Hypnotic Mist is it's one of the few citrus flavors that I can kind of like crank up a little bit and I don't get like a brutal amount of throat hit from it. It gets a little sharp, but not like TPA Juicy Peach sharp, right? So it's not bad.
It's one of those flavors that like I forget how much I like until somebody brings it up and I'm like, oh shit, no, I should totally use a Hypnotic Mist there. So
right. Yeah, no, it is. And I think it might actually, I don't know. Never mind. I had like a thought there, but it went away. And then the last is Rick's very favorite, Flavor Art Rose.
Flavor Art Rose is garbage, and it's so bad. It's one of the only things I've actually like retched when I vape. There's just something really off-putting about that flavor for me.
It's not entirely inaccurate, Steven. Not entirely.
Like it doesn't even. Like the thing is, like, there's supposed to be like this like fecal quality to like geraniol and like some of the flavors they use, and that wasn't even it for me so much as it tastes like what you'd use to cover up the smell of decay. Like it's just one of my like not like I'm not going there. Like more power to the fucking Rose weirdos, but
right. Well, so. We talked about this before the show a little bit, and it's ethyl hexanol, right? Which is like it's like green bordering on like decayed vegetation, right? When you use it too high. So if you're sensitive to it at all, like it's going to come out tasting like exactly like you described. I'm not personally sensitive to it, but I do still find FA Rose to be more green than I would like, right? So it's harder to work with, so I have to use it low. And Rose is just one of those flavors that no company hits right so far. Nobody's hit it like very well. Vape Train got closer, but I don't know if they ever released the Rose they sent, the version they sent me after I sent them some feedback.
What did you think of the Real Flavor Super Concentrate Rose?
It was okay, I guess. It's got that same green thing going on. It wasn't, I don't know. It's not bad. I don't know if I'll use it, but I didn't mess with it a super bunch either, though. It's all right, I guess. I guess as far as I can go with that because I don't really know. The next four I have less experience with, but I'm gonna go ahead and hit them with anyways. So these are the Vape Train florals that I have. We have the musk candy, right, or musk, right, which is really musky, but it's less offensive than like when we talked about TPA's musk candy earlier. So it's easier to use. It's really sweet and really musky. So it's like, I mean, it's good. and it's got a kind of a rose hip vibe going on to it. I can't confirm, Lilani, that they're the same rose in their Turkish Delight because I don't have their Turkish Delight, or if I do, I haven't tested it because I'm still not all the way through their full line. But I'll get to their rose in just a minute. So, musk candy first, right? That's where I was.
Yeah, sweet musk.
Sweet musk, yeah. It's kind of surprisingly, it's kind of wet, right? Like almost like a drink.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have the candy like a, because when I think of musk candy, I think of like the powdered sweet tart musk candies, right? They're those little crunchy like hard candies, but they're powdered sweet, not like hard candy sweet. And these are like the sweet musk. I find it's almost like a drink, right? Like,
yeah,
it's good though. I like it. I'm still not sure where to use it because it's kind of maybe in like a really fancy ass gin cocktail. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, I've been banging my head against that one for a while because, like, if you get over the fact that you're vaping something that's super musky, because it will never not be musky, like, it's actually a pretty good flavor. It reminds me a little bit of patchouli. Like, it goes fairly well with vanilla. Like, it isn't too overtly fruity. And so I've been, like, trying to pair it up against, like, melons and stuff like that. And I haven't really got to the point that I've dialed it in that it's something that I'm really happy with, because it's one of those that you can vape fairly high on its own if you don't mind the musk, but the second you try to start layering in with other stuff, it really just starts to dominate.
Yeah, it does. I've done a couple of like 2-3 flavor recipes with it, and it's really difficult to balance. It really takes over, even if you keep it low, right? Like at 1 or 2%, like it's definitely present, and there's no way it's ever going to not definitely be present, I don't think.
Yeah, whereas if you're just vaping it by itself or with some vanilla or something, I mean, you can vape that at like 5%. Like, it's not a big deal, but it's a really dominant flavor, not really a bad flavor. It's just super, super dominant.
Yeah. And then their osmanthus. Did you ever try that?
No, that wasn't one that I got.
It's like a less musky version of sweet musk, with a little more like top end floral notes. So it kind of goes away from patchouli and more towards like an aggressive honeysuckle. Right. So, but it keeps that kind of like that same kind of like wet, bordering on beverage sort of quality. It's really cool. I've gone through like 30 mils of it already. I love the shit out of it. I still have had a hard time like putting it with recipes for the same reasons that sweet musk is hard to mix with, because it just kind of pushes everything else out of the way, even at low ranges.
It's kind of like the Inawera sesame sweets conundrum, where it's definitely not a bad flavor, but if you like it, it steamrolls everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just takes over everything. Next on the list is their lavender, which I'm again not 100% sure it ever got released. It's a softer lavender and more bordering on candy than flavor arts. The lavender note itself is pretty similar, and I find the concentration to be around the same, if it's not just a little more potent, but it's softer and like gentler. It's not as aggressive. So I think it could be more useful in candies and fruits than FA lavender is. Definitely, I feel like it will be, but I haven't had enough time to test it to really confirm that. And then their jasmine is kind of the same thing. The jasmine note itself is pretty similar to FA's jasmine. They're not very different, but the way it carries in a recipe is much different. I think that Vape Train's jasmine may have more potential in the versatility department because it has a little more staying power and a little bit less of that awkwardness when you push it up high enough for you to taste it. Did you mess with either of those yet, or did you ever get them?
No, I did not. My Vape Train floral stuff, I think it's limited pretty much to the sweet musk.
Okay, that's all right. I mean, I haven't had a lot of time to test them myself, really. I need to spend more time with them, especially all things considered right now. Yeah, they're good. They're good. I didn't. Vape Train overall, I feel like is the company that was the most successful with all of their florals collectively. Like, there's no bad ones or unusable ones, and the ones they do have are a little easier to work with. They don't have a honeysuckle yet. I'll bug Theo about it again, but not until after I get my fucking plantains.
You're just not going to quit on the plantains. I like it.
Never. Theo, if you're watching.
It's like a magical cross between a banana and a potato. Yay.
Yeah. It's so glorious. But specifically, I want fried plantains, right? So I want like that buttery, caramelized fucking fried plantain. All right, on to the biggest of the group, right? Flavora, which surprised me when I threw it because I usually don't think about floral flavors when I think about Flavora because they have such a wide range of really popular flavors. But they've got some really good florals, some really useful ones. We'll start with hibiscus. Their hibiscus is like the hardest fucking one to use. Their hibiscus is like really strong and it goes really green and almost herbal.
Yeah. Yeah,
if
it's
you push
definitely
it over like 0.5%, like it just.
Yeah, it's definitely very, very bright and very green. And the greenness is a little weird to work with. It's almost like an amped up like jasmine flavor.
Yeah.
When you really get down to it, with a little bit more of like a waxy body. Like, I don't hate it, but yeah, it's such a weird flavor to try to actually like work into recipes.
Yeah, it's definitely not an offensive green like some others, but it is really hard to make it mesh with other flavors. And then
yeah, it has zero in common with cap hibiscus, basically.
Yeah, they're not any like there's like zero. Yeah, there's zero whatever. Yeah, they don't go together. Fuck it. Blackberry Blossom was the next one. This one I really liked because it reminds me the floral note itself is kind of it's pretty low, sort of more in line with like honeysuckle, but it's like a really dark berry. Like it's almost like their boysenberry with some blackberry kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, and it has a really interesting floral note. Like when you say that a blackberry's floral, it's not like FA blackberry floral where it's just like straight like chalky perfume floral. It's like a warmer sort of wildflower kind of floral. Like it's a very natural, like slightly musky floral, which for me at least is a lot less offensive in actual mixes. I really like their blackberry blossom flavor. I just haven't really found a place for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I really like it standalone. I think it could go well with another dark berry blend, right, where it's still strong enough to stand up on top of top of everything else. It's really versatile.
Yeah, and the actual like floral part of it tastes a lot like Flavora's honeybee, which is another thing that's pretty much a floral.
That was literally what I was about to say, right? Like the floral note in blackberry blossom and honeybee are like identical. Where honeybee can fit into like bakeries and stuff like that, and it has a definitive honey note, like that floral top note. Like it's just I really like it, right? Like it's really great. Like it's got the definite like wildflower thing going on, but like the floral itself is just it's really nice. It's a softer floral. It's not aggressive and sharp like a lot of the others.
Yeah, and like it's not a really straight ahead honey flavor. Something more like FA's honey, I guess, is probably a little bit more straight ahead than that. But the floral notes actually in that honeybee do actually taste like some of the floral notes that you'll get out of honey, which is like a really cool trick. Like it actually does remind me of a pretty decent like wildflower honey.
Yeah, when you buy like the expensive fancy ass honey, like it reminds me like of the floral notes you get from that. Not that honey bear shit. Or whatever.
Yeah, but like actual varietal honey, and yeah, it's good.
Definitely. And then we'll cover the obscures before we hit the big one. Sugar Orchid is next. I really like it. The floral note itself is kind of nice, but when you crank it up high enough in a recipe to really get the floral to stand out, like let's get this like overpowering powdered sugar sweetness to it that like trashes the floral itself. So it's kind of, I've had a hard time making it fit in recipes because of that.
Yeah, I feel like there's also like a vanilla in there, and that vanilla is like a super, super fruity vanilla. So it reminds me a lot of like of TPA's cherry blossom. Like it's dry, it's a little bit powdery. And if you take it high enough, like it gets like kind of a cherry vibe going on, bordering on like a little bit of like that, just a little bit of burnt plastic to it.
Yeah, I can see that. I've only ever taken it to like 2%. which I did on accident when I did take it to 2%. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, it's good. It's a good flavor. I just really haven't found a good home for it yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, the sugar orchid actually reminds me more of a cherry blossom, or at least a cherry blossom is contextualized by TPA's cherry blossom than Flavora cherry blossom. That one also seems to be a little bit on the green side for me, a little bit leafier.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And then Flavora's Chester cherry blossom is probably the one that I've spent the least amount of time with. I remember single flavor testing it when it first came out. Actually, when it was still in beta and we got the early release or whatever. Max Savage says he gets Play-Doh out of Sugar Orchid. Yeah, I can see the plasticky where maybe you get a kind of Play-Doh vibe.
Yeah, and I think if you have something like, because I do totally get like the plasticky thing, and I think if you mix it up against anything that has any kind of like Play-Doh vibe, like even something as subtle as F.A. Zeppola or something, like it's definitely going to pop that kind of like weird Play-Doh note to it.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Yeah, like I definitely don't disagree with you, Max Savage.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever experienced that in that extreme, but I could see where it could get there. Cherry Blossom, Flavora Cherry Blossom. I really like it. It doesn't strike me as there's a word I'm looking for and I'm losing it. Have you used it yet?
The only time that I've used their cherry blossom, I want to say, is when I was mixing together their sugar orchid and their cherry blossom to try to like make another cherry blossom flavor. And I feel like if you mix the two, it does make a pretty good cherry blossom flavor that's a little fuller and a little bit less powdery than TPA's.
Yeah.
But I haven't really messed with it extensively.
I feel like it just hits like a less dry version of Sugar Orchid. It's got a really similar like floral top note, but it doesn't have like that weird powdered sugar vibe going on that Sugar Orchid and regular TPA Cherry Blossom has, which is kind of helpful. I feel like it might be good in like ciders and stuff like that, or with apples, right, to like kind of augment the back end of like brighter stone fruits.
Oh yeah, no, actually that sounds really good. Like an apple cider with that cherry blossom in there would be really tasty.
I think it'd work really well.
Well, shit, there we go.
and then last but not least, just so you guys, could deal with like the next 30 minutes pretty much just being about this flavor, is Flavora Elderflower.
Tell us about Flavora Elderflower. Right.
So when you vape Flavora Elderflower, it's like instantly banging the 3 hottest cougars you could ever imagine, and their perfume just being stuck in your beard forever, right? Like that's how glorious it is.
This sounds more like an anecdote than like a description.
Right.
Do you have something you want to talk about here?
No, not publicly anyways.
He speaks from personal experience.
Right. So God damn it. Elderflower itself is like it's a really unique floral, and a lot of people find it really aggressive and too offensive. It's a really floral, it's just like blasts you in the face with like just shy of musk level floral flavor. It's really hard to describe like in comparison to anything else.
Yeah, it's like if you've had Saint Germain, which is the elderflower liqueur, it's like a more floral version of that. Like it doesn't really stand in for Saint Germain all that well by itself, but it has that same like basic like elderflower profile to it.
Yeah, definitely. It's really difficult to like put into context. But let me get this. So the flowers come from an elderberry bush, So if you've ever grown elderberry or been around anywhere where they grow wild, you'd know the smell a lot more clearly. But otherwise, they're kind of unique in nature that way.
Yeah. I feel like this is a flavor that a lot of people are kind of scared of because it does come across as fairly aggressive. But it's one that I feel like you can lean into a lot harder than people think, because as you start increasing the percentage of it, it doesn't really get more floral. It just picks up more body.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. We've talked about this before, and the first time I saw you use a recipe where elderflower was at like 2.5% or something, I was like, you're high. Like,
Yeah.
there's no fucking way, right? Because I was using it at like 1% and blasting my face off, and I was just like, it's not possible. But I agree with you. You can push it insanely high, way higher than I would ever imagine being theoretically reasonable.
I feel like it's like Yakima hops in that kind of regard. Like you can get like some of the actual flavor profile, but like if you start cranking it, you get more body without it necessarily getting any more offensive, which is nice. I mean, you're still dealing with a fairly aggressive floral flavor, but you can like TPA champagne. Actually, that's where I started using that, is to kind of cut down on some of the perfuminess and still keep it as like from not being offensive and still have that body to it.
Yeah, I definitely. So Elderflower Dreams, the one shot at Chef's, was the first time I really like took your theory to the table and pushed it as high as I thought was humanly possible, which is pretty high. Makes up a pretty large percentage of the one shot. So you can definitely push it way higher, and then you get like a more almost like the back end of Saint Germain's like liqueur body out of it. Yeah, it's good. It's fantastic, and it's probably the best floral flavor on the market, and I don't think it'll ever be beaten.
Yeah, it's definitely a hall of fame for floral weirdos out there. It's an awesome flavor.
Yeah, super good. I know we talked a little bit about. I mean, that pretty much covers most of the list. Is there anything I'm missing?
There's some random scattered stuff. I have TPA Woodruff, but sweet Woodruff, but I've never figured out a way to actually use it that isn't kind of gross. It's fairly floral. The TPA version is, at least. Yeah, haven't really found anything to do with it yet.
I have Jungle Flavors, sweet Woodruff. I really liked it, but I only really found a good use for it in like teas.
Yeah, like teas are a good place to stash floral notes if you really want something floral, but it's a little bit harder to like balancing floral recipes is always a pain in the ass. Like that's where most of the work comes in, is okay, you want to combine like some fruity note and some floral note. You're going to have to do a lot of work with your balance.
Yeah, definitely. Max Savage says he's trying to make a matcha milk, but it's harder than he thought. So he's trying to use FA jasmine or TPA green tea to push the grassy note that's in the Flavora tea.
The green tea or the acai tea? Or
he said he's trying it with both, right? He's trying it with acai and FLV green tea.
I do like the acai. Like I realize that nothing is like straight on matcha on the market or whatever, but I do feel like if you push that acai tea up high enough, you do get some of like that matcha from it.
Yeah, but you need to push the grassy note in it, because the grassy note, if you want it to be like matcha, right? You need to push the grassy note and then add some spices. So I would push some like TPA green tea at like 1 or 2% to like kind of force in the extra grassy notes, and then maybe a really low amount of their Thai chai.
What about
to pick up the vague spiciness from matcha?
What about like Vape Train Green Mango, or as Shindo was calling it, Vape Train Lawn Trimmings? I feel like you could bring that in for an interesting accent to get some of that greenness in there.
Yeah, that'd be a good choice too. I'm not as familiar with green mango, so I can't really suggest a good range for how much you would need to use to hit that. So I can only recommend what I'm really familiar with. Steamcraft, I use FA Oakwood still. I don't like it as much as Red Oak, but I do still use it. The clary sage note that's in Oakwood makes it really, really dry and a pain in the ass, where Red Oak doesn't dry out as bad.
See, there you go, Reggae Nights. You could
There
also
you go.
use Reggae Nights. That works out too. I like Reggae Nights, but it's like grassy and juniper-ish, which I enjoy both of those things. So
Yeah, it's weird. It's hard to fit into a recipe though. Like I've always have found like I tried to use it like 5 or 6 times in like weird recipes where I thought that grassiness would benefit it, but it's much harder to balance.
yeah, I spent a long time trying to smash it up against blueberries with horrible results. It was always fun.
With what kind of floor would I put with cap lychee? Probably something pretty mild because it's already like got that weird like plastic bordering on diesel fuel kind of thing going on. Maybe hibiscus, cap hibiscus, maybe.
Yeah, if you don't want it floral, you want to play you want to play pretty safe there.
Yeah. If you want it really floral, I mean,
Flavora lychee.
yeah, just go all in.
That the thing about Max Savage is I found FA Kiwi to work really well to sweeten and hide beyond the tea, but still needs that grass. You know, that FA Kiwi thing is a really interesting idea.
Oh, hey, that's actually pretty cool. That's a good idea because it kind of fits the whole profile a bit.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time, Steam, getting past the smell of Wonder Flavor Saskatoon berries. It's not a terrible flavor, but it smells like somebody's making pruno, right? It's just like this violently aggressive, dying fruit, rotting fruit smell that I just cannot fucking get past. Euro flavor florals. No, I have not, Leilani. Like, why do you and furthermore, why do you always have some obscure brand that no one else in the entire industry has heard of to ask me about every time you talk to me, Leilani? Like, I can't afford to buy all these lines. I just want to be clear.
We've got the original Duomei booster in the chat right now.
Goodness gracious.
Jesus, just use Flavor West like everybody else and be happy.
God damn it. And then the only thing I have really to add is that when you're trying to build a recipe with florals, like you have to anticipate that you're gonna fuck it up at least like 3 times probably. They're much harder to layer, and they're a lot harder to work with just overall. And you run like a 50% chance that adding an extra 2.25% or 0.5% of one thing or another is going to throw it all sideways on you. So just be ready for that. And then, am I going to talk about Decadent Vapors Violet? You mean Parma Violet? Yeah, I could talk about that. It's like it's a more candied violet. Like it has like an actual hard candy body, where FA Violet's kind of wet and sweet. Like Decadent Vapors has like a definitive like candy edge to it.
Like TPA Cherry Blossom, like this is a brand new insight. I've said this before, but TPA Cherry Blossom to me tastes very pink, and Parma Violet tastes like the purple version of Cherry Blossom.
Yeah, I could agree with that. There's like a definite violet edge to it, but otherwise it has a pretty similar body and depth, I think, overall to Cherry Blossom.
Tastes super purple.
Super purple, dude. It's good though. I like it.
Mix that with some Flavora grape, and you have the most purple recipe ever created.
True story. And mango, right? Just to fuck it up.
Just to fucking Shyamalan twist the entire thing.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Floral recipes are, yeah, for me at least, like messing with florals, unless you're just pushing one really strong floral note and you're cool with the recipe being floral, they are an absolute bear to mix, and they take more revisions than damn near anything else, because you are dealing in minute percentages and little tiny accents and all that.
I don't know what that is. I have to look it up.
Yeah, the Parma Violet, as Gringo's saying, the Parma Violets are actually a real thing. Like I've had one of them. They're kind of like purple Altoids, sort of, but less minty. They're kind of great.
Yeah, no, I really dig them. They're good. It's good. I like Decadent Vapor stuff overall. It's harder for me to suggest them though, I think, in recipes, just because they're so close to like one shots on their own. Like they're like they're like the halfway point between like regular concentrates that we're used to and like a one shot flavor, which is nice if you don't have a lot of time because you just throw one or two of them together or three of them and you've got something pretty good.
Yeah, they're base. I mean, most of them are like a base for a recipe, and you might be able to sneak in like a couple cool accents here or there, but you really don't want to compete with what they're trying to do. You don't want to try to bend them or anything like that. You just want to throw in like little flourishes on top of them.
Yeah, the only one that I ever treated like an actual flavor, well, there's two, was their lemon sherbet, which is really fantastic, and their attar of rose as an ingredient, right? Like their attar of rose was really strong, and it was like a really fantastic rose, but now it's discontinued, which is why I didn't put it on the list in the first place.
And you're still mad about that.
And I do periodically email their sales manager and ask him where the fuck my attar of rose is, but I never get a good answer.
Oh, and completely off topic, but thank you very much, Subvapes, for buying Midnight Marauder. I really, really like that recipe. I don't know if it's caught on much because it has black licorice in it, but I dig that one.
I feel like out of any market that we're involved in, like the UK/chefs market is probably the most open to like black licorice and anise flavors. They seem really popular.
Yeah, like that was the coolest thing for me about chefs was like, holy shit, I can put some black licorice in something. Not everybody's going to reflexively lose their shit.
Yeah, exactly. I really liked Midnight Marauder. I think it was a fantastic one shot.
Yeah. So thank you, Subvapes. I'm glad you dig it, man. Yeah, I like that one quite a bit. I still mix it up actually, and like I'm usually busy testing shit, but I still actually mix that up. It works really well as a shake and vape too.
Yeah, I keep some on my desk usually all the time. I like it. I like it a lot. It's like my new go-to like cooling flavor, like colder flavor. Like when it's really fucking hot. I dig it. What do we got? We got like 10 minutes left. You got any questions? Did I miss any florals you guys wanted to hear about, or any other weird fucking flavors?
Oh, hibiscus candy by Wonder Flavors. I have not tried it. I am going to pick it up when I see it.
It just came out, so
yeah. I mean, it could be good. Like Capella's hibiscus is already pretty candy, so if they manage to like amp up that kind of hibiscus flavor and turn it even further into a candy, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's another floral, so I mean, obviously, I'll pick it up and give it a try at some point. But I literally just finished doing a restock at Bull City. Like my order came in yesterday morning, and I haven't even opened it yet. So I'm behind. Am I considering floral abuse beneath your denims? Nope, they're Batman underwear. But thanks for asking.
I mean, you make it sound like there's something wrong with wearing floral patterns on your underwear. I want to be pretty too. That's not just a female thing.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, and yeah, thank you, Subvapes. We were trying to brainstorm names for that, and Adam actually came up with that. Adam's a pretty big old school hip hop head, so he went with Midnight Marauder, and that was awesome.
That's good stuff. Oh, quit your crying, kind ground.
I like fennel, man.
Yeah, how can you not? Who doesn't like fennel? Like that, you might as well just not like breakfast anymore if you don't like fennel. What do you eat for breakfast?
Just big plates of raw ass fennel. I mean, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, but you can't have breakfast sausage without fennel in it. Like,
yeah, you pick the. Oh God, you're a monster.
You're a monster. Jesus, get out of here, kind guy. You're not allowed in my chat anymore.
Like I knew you were a monster before, but that just seems it.
Well, that's gonna be for ask what I'm vaping today. I'm vaping a prototype for our next release at Chef's, so I can't talk about it yet, but it's pretty good.
So secret squirrel stuff. I dig that.
Squirrel stuff. Yeah. Well, I just I don't want to give away too much because it's like a month out still. So
I am vaping one of 5 recipes for the Mix and Vixen show later today. So that's what I'm vaping right now. Tune in at 3 o'clock Eastern to watch us stumble over ourselves.
Isn't it past 3 o'clock Eastern already?
Oh, 6 o'clock Eastern.
There we go. I was like, I feel like it's 4 o'clock Eastern right now almost. I was like, you're
I'm
late,
on
buddy.
the West Coast. That's fine. The East Coast time is just unfortunate for everybody.
It's good. It's good. Keep an eye out on our spot at Chefs. There's going to be some new shit coming in like a month. So it's going to be pretty cool. Be sure to check out our one-shots at Wiz Labs and Chefs and e-cig. We all got some stuff out there. So if you're looking for some delicious flavors, have a look. I don't think we have, I don't have any other business-related announcements. Join the group. Smash the like and the subscribe buttons. Rick, do the dance.
Smash that like button. There we go.
Perfect. All right.
That's what you got.
It's good. All right. I like it. I like it. It's all right. I can't do the dance. It's not as charismatic when I do it.
No, and you gotta you gotta drop your voice too, and just embrace the fact that you're gonna look like a tool bag while you do it. It's pretty good.
I kind of assume that automatically. I know I'm gonna look like a tool bag like the whole show, right? So I just try not to go out of my way to make it worse.
Well, I drop this mask of composure and professionalism I have, and then run with that.
Oh, is that what people? My face is just stuck this way. It's not like a mask, right? It just doesn't change from this, right? Like my mom one time, she was like, "You're gonna get stuck. We keep doing that," and that's what happened.
So listen to your mom. That's the moral from today.
That's the moral for today, kids. Listen to your mom, or you'll look like Kobo for the rest of your life, and nobody wants that.
Don't start messing with florals and listen to your mom, or you're gonna end up like this dude right here.
Right. Where's Dave? We don't have Dave to make fun of, and now it's me.
Yeah, it's low man on the totem pole here. I don't know how I ended up on the top of that pile because, quite frankly, I'm a ridiculous human being. But here we are.
Here we are. Here we are indeed. Well, thanks to everybody for watching. Maybe we're going to call it a few minutes early. We will be back next Sunday with something probably less structured than today. Cheers.
Dave, you're